circuit court do's and don'ts, various things that circuit court judges want to see in their courtroom or things that would be better to avoid doing in a courtroom. Every judge is different and they'll have their own views on these particular points, but one of the things that's very frustrating for us as circuit judges is when the attorneys show up in court and they're unprepared. They don't know the facts of the case, they don't know the applicable law and the applicable tests that should be used in a given case, and also they won't understand who has the burden of proof. And that's rather frustrating because it wastes everyone's time and it hurts the level of justice. And judges expect attorneys to be prepared, and attorneys should be prepared because they can become that reliable lawyer that the judges can depend on. If you know that an attorney is going to be prepared and know the various factors and tests that we have to use, and if they're prepared with the evidence, we then can trust that lawyer just a little bit more in terms of those issues, and you're more likely to get a better result. It's important for the attorneys to act in a civil manner and in a manner which advances their case rather than their own interests. Anytime an attorney is not civil and not professional to another attorney, it really distracts from the message they're trying to give. And I would suggest that they try to avoid that at all costs. It also costs the client money in the long run because the more times that the attorneys can't figure something out between themselves in terms of scheduling, in terms of discovery, or whatever it might be, then they have to return to court, and it's going to then take money to file that motion and defend that motion. So it appears when someone is not civil to the other attorney that the only way they can win is through intimidation rather than the merits of their case. So unless you really have no other alternative, it's best to avoid that. It's also important to be civil to the jurors and to the court staff and to the witnesses during trial. As far as the court staff is concerned, of course, the judge is going to be protective somewhat of their court staff, and they want to avoid having them put in the middle of any disputes. But even more importantly, at trial, it's very important to be courteous to the witnesses because those jurors are going to sympathize with the witness rather than the attorney. And unless the attorney has a very, very good reason to attack the witness outright, it's best to do it in a rather subtle way if you have to attack their testimony, and to be very polite during that process. The same is true of being polite to the jurors. And by that I mean be respectful of the jurors' time. If you're wasting time asking unnecessary questions or not being prepared in terms of having your exhibits ready and having your questions ready, the jurors will notice that, and they don't appreciate having their time wasted.